Most people don't have a money problem. They have a misunderstanding problem. They keep praying for increase while ignoring instruction. They ask God to bless what they refuse to build. Let me tell you something. Heaven responds to principles, not pressure. You can shout, you can cry, you can fast for 40 days. But if you violate the laws God put in place, poverty will keep showing up at your door. See, God never promised prosperity without participation. He doesn't reward wishing, He rewards wisdom. And the reason most Christians struggle financially isn't because God is holding back. It's because they've been taught to beg instead of build, to hope instead of obey, to wait instead of work. The Bible already gave you the blueprint. Wealth isn't random, increase isn't luck, prosperity is predictable when you follow divine laws. Today, I'm going to show you why prayer alone isn't enough, and how activating God's wealth principles can change your life starting now. Let me tell you something that might challenge what you've been taught. Prayer is powerful. Prayer opens doors. Prayer connects you to heaven. But prayer by itself does not replace principles. And that's where a lot of believers get stuck. They're praying hard, they're crying out, they're fasting, they're believing God for financial breakthrough, yet their bank account looks exactly the same year after year. Not because God is ignoring them, but because heaven responds to alignment, not emotion. See, God is not moved by desperation. He is moved by obedience. You can ask all day for increase, but if you don't manage what you already have, why would God multiply it? You can pray for overflow, but if you don't practice discipline, stewardship, and structure, overflow has nowhere to go. God doesn't bypass His own systems just because you're sincere. Sincerity without strategy still produces struggle. Most people think money comes from miracles, but money flows through methods. The Bible is full of promises, but every promise is connected to a principle. There is always something you are supposed to do. Faith is not sitting back waiting for something to fall out of the sky. Faith is acting on what God already revealed. Faith looks like budgeting when you don't feel like it. Faith looks like saving when you'd rather spend. Faith looks like learning new skills when staying comfortable feels easier. Faith looks like showing up consistently even when results are slow. Here's what I've noticed. Many believers want harvest without planting, increase without discipline, abundance without accountability. They pray for financial freedom but refuse financial responsibility. They ask God to bless their life while they misuse their time. They ask God to multiply their money while they don't track a single dollar. That's not faith. That's hoping God will override laws He already put in place. God operates by systems. Seed time and harvest is a system. Diligence produces wealth is a system. Planning leads to profit is a system. He didn't hide prosperity from you. He hid it for you inside principles. And when you align with those principles, results become predictable. Poverty is not just a lack of money. It's often a lack of structure. Let me make this practical. If you don't tell your money where to go, it will leave you. If you don't control your calendar, distractions will run your life. If you don't invest in your growth, stagnation will become normal. You don't rise to the level of your prayers. You fall to the level of your habits. That's why two people can pray the same prayer, serve the same God, attend the same church, yet live completely different financial realities. One applies principles, the other only makes requests. And here's the uncomfortable truth. God already answered many of your prayers in the form of instructions. He told you to be diligent. He told you to save. He told you to give. He told you to seek wisdom. He told you to develop skills. He told you to plan. But instead of obeying, many people keep asking again. You don't need another prayer meeting. You need another level of execution. When you start honoring principles, things begin to shift. You start seeing opportunities you used to overlook. You stop wasting money on things that don't matter. You begin to understand that wealth is built slowly, intentionally, and consistently. You realize that discipline is not punishment. It's protection. You recognize that structure creates freedom, and you discover that God's way is not mystical, it's methodical. Listen, God is not trying to keep you broke to make you humble. He wants you productive. He wants you impactful. He wants you resourced. But he also wants you responsible. That's why prayer must be paired with practice. Worship must be paired with work. Belief must be paired with behavior. When you line up your daily actions with divine laws, provision stops being random and starts becoming reliable. Stop waiting on money and start working the principles. Stop asking for blessings and start building systems. Stop praying for change and start becoming the person who qualifies for it. Because when you respect God's laws, God releases his favor, and that's when everything changes. Let me take you a little deeper, because this is where a lot of people miss it. God does not pay people for being nice. He doesn't compensate you just because you show up to church, sing on the praise team, or know a few scriptures by heart. Character matters, yes. Integrity matters, absolutely. But income follows impact. Money moves toward value. And until you understand that, you'll keep wondering why your prayers aren't turning into provision. Most believers were taught that if you live right, everything else will just fall into place. But that's not how the world God created actually works. The marketplace doesn't reward intentions, it rewards solutions. People don't pay you for what you mean to do. They pay you for what you can do. They don't compensate you for your struggle. They compensate you for your skill. That's why two people can love God just as much, yet one earns 10 times more than the other. One learned how to solve bigger problems. See, wealth is simply a reflection of the amount of value you bring to the lives of others. If you help one person, you get paid one way. If you help thousands, you get paid another way. If you solve small problems, you receive small rewards. If you solve large problems, you receive large rewards. That's not greed, that's design. God built it that way so that abundance would always be connected to service. Here's where it gets practical. If you want to increase your income, don't start by asking for more money. Start by asking how you can become more valuable. What skill do you need to develop? What knowledge do you need to acquire? What problem can you learn to solve? The fastest way to raise your income is to raise your competence. The quickest path to financial growth is personal growth. But most people don't want that. They want to raise without learning. They want overflow without upgrading. They want harvest without increasing capacity. They want God to bless what they refuse to build. You cannot stay the same person and expect a different financial future. Transformation always precedes elevation. Let me say it another way. Money is a messenger. It shows up where value lives. If you're not seeing enough of it, don't get mad at God. Look at your skill set. Look at your mindset. Look at your habits. Look at what you bring to the table, because the marketplace is simply giving feedback on your current level of contribution. Some people think talking about value is unspiritual, but Jesus taught it clearly. He told stories about servants being rewarded based on what they produced. He talked about talents being multiplied. He spoke about faithful stewardship leading to greater responsibility. Heaven celebrates productivity. God loves progress. He designed you to grow, expand, and increase. And here's the beautiful part. Anyone can increase their value. You don't need a special background. You don't need perfect connections. You don't need to be born wealthy. You just need to be willing to learn, to stretch, to practice, and to stay consistent. Read more, study more, train more, show up early, stay late, serve better, communicate clearer, solve problems faster. Every time you improve, your value goes up. And when your value goes up, your income eventually follows. But you have to stop seeing money as something God withholds and start seeing it as something you attract through service. The more people you help, the more doors open. The more lives you impact, the more resources flow. Wealth is not about taking, it's about contributing at a higher level. Most people want to be rich so they can relax. Kingdom thinkers want to be rich so they can reach. They understand that resources amplify influence. Money is just a tool. In the hands of the undisciplined, it disappears. In the hands of the faithful, it multiplies. So don't focus on chasing dollars. Chase development, chase excellence, chase mastery. Become so good at what you do that people can't ignore you. Become so valuable that opportunities start looking for you. When you commit to growth, God meets you with favor, and provision becomes a byproduct of purpose. Increase your value and wealth will find you. Let's talk about something that has been working since the beginning of time, and it's still working right now whether people believe it or not. Seed time and harvest. This is not just a spiritual idea, it's a universal law. You don't get results by wishing, you get results by planting. Every harvest in your life is connected to a seed you release somewhere, and until you understand that, you'll keep waiting on blessings that are supposed to be grown. Most people see giving as loss. God sees giving as leverage. Poor thinking says, if I give, I'll have less. Kingdom thinking says, if I plant, I'm positioning myself for multiplication. A seed is not designed to be stored, it's designed to be sown. And when you keep consuming everything you receive, you cancel your future harvest. That's why broke people spend everything, and wealthy people invest intentionally. Here's the mistake many believers make. They only think about money as seed. But money is just one form. Your time is seed. Your effort is seed. Your kindness is seed. Your learning is seed. The way you show up consistently is seed. Every day you are planting something, whether you realize it or not. And life always gives back according to what was planted. You can't plant laziness and expect success. You can't plant excuses and expect abundance. You can't plant procrastination and expect promotion. Harvest never lies. If you don't like what you're reaping, you don't need more prayer. You need different seed. A farmer doesn't get emotional about harvest. He gets intentional about planting. He doesn't pray over empty ground and hope corn shows up. He puts seed in the soil, he waters it, he protects it, he waits patiently, and eventually the harvest appears. That's how prosperity works. It's not mysterious, it's methodical. Some people say, I tried giving and it didn't work. No, you planted once and quit. Harvest requires consistency. You don't go to the gym one time and expect a transformed body. You don't read one book and expect wisdom. And you don't sow one seed and expect lifetime overflow. Multiplication comes to those who stay faithful in the process. Let me make it practical. When you invest in learning, you're planting seeds into your future income. When you give generously, you're planting into future opportunities. When you serve others with excellence, you're planting into future favor. When you save instead of spend, you're planting into future stability. Every intentional action is a seed that carries tomorrow inside it. But most people eat their seed. They spend everything they make. They invest nothing in themselves. They give nothing away. Then they wonder why nothing grows. You cannot consume your way into abundance. You must sow your way there. And here's something powerful. Seeds always leave your hand, but they never leave your life. They move from your present into your future. That's why disciplined people delay gratification. They understand that short-term sacrifice produces long-term gain. They know that what they plant today determines what they live in tomorrow. God designed it this way so that no one is stuck. You might not like where you are right now, but you can change what you plant starting today. You don't need perfect conditions. Farmers don't wait for perfect weather. They work with what they have. You may not have much money, but you have time. You may not have connections, but you have effort. You may not have resources, but you have attitude. Start sowing with what's in your hand, and don't overlook small seeds. Small seeds grow big trees. Small habits create massive results. Small investments compound. Small acts of obedience open large doors. The enemy doesn't mind you waiting for a big breakthrough because breakthroughs are built on small, consistent actions. Plant daily, give regularly, learn continuously, serve faithfully. That's how harvest is built. Also understand timing. Every seed has a season. You don't dig it up every week to check progress. You trust the process. Some of you planted last year and quit because you didn't see results fast enough. But harvest doesn't operate on your schedule. It operates on God's design. Stay planted, stay consistent, stay obedient. When you truly embrace seed time and harvest, you stop chasing money and start creating systems. You stop begging for miracles and start building momentum. You realize that prosperity is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. So don't ask for harvest if you won't plant. Don't expect increase if you won't invest. And don't pray for abundance while consuming everything God puts in your hands. Plant with purpose and watch your future grow. Let me tell you something most people never hear in church. Your life does not move in the direction of your prayers. It moves in the direction of your thinking. Long before poverty shows up in your bank account, it shows up in your mindset. Long before abundance becomes visible, it becomes believable. That's why two people can sit in the same room, hear the same message, serve the same God, and walk away with completely different results. One allows their thinking to change, the other keeps their old patterns. You will never outgrow the story you keep telling yourself. If you see yourself as barely getting by, that's exactly how you'll live. If you believe success is for other people, you'll subconsciously sabotage opportunities. If you think money is evil, you'll push it away every time it comes near you. Your income will always match your identity, not your potential, your identity. God doesn't just want to bless your hands. He wants to renew your mind, because whatever dominates your thoughts eventually directs your actions. And your actions create your outcomes. That's why transformation always starts on the inside. You can't build a wealthy life with a broke mentality. You can't manage abundance with scarcity thinking. You can't expect overflow while rehearsing limitation. Most people think money problems are external. They think it's the economy, their upbringing, their boss, or their circumstances. But the real battle is internal. It's how you see opportunity. It's how you respond to challenges. It's what you believe is possible for you. The moment you upgrade your perspective is the moment you unlock new pathways. Let me make it practical. If you think learning is optional, you stay average. If you think discipline is punishment, you avoid structure. If you think sacrifice is loss, you resist investment. But when your thinking shifts, everything shifts. You start seeing education as leverage. You start seeing consistency as freedom. You start seeing challenges as training. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? Here's the truth. Rich thinking focuses on solutions. Poor thinking focuses on problems. Rich thinking asks, how can I add value? Poor thinking asks, who's going to help me? Rich thinking looks for opportunity. Poor thinking looks for excuses. Rich thinking plans ahead. Poor thinking reacts to emergencies. And none of that has anything to do with how much money you currently have. It has everything to do with how you think. Some people say, I just need more money. No, you need a higher level of thinking. Because if God dropped $1 million into your current mindset, you'd lose it the same way you lose 100. Money only magnifies who you already are. If you lack discipline, money exposes it. If you lack wisdom, money reveals it. That's why God works on your mind before he increases your resources. And let me say this clearly. Thinking small is not humility, it's limitation. God did not design you to survive, he designed you to thrive. He did not give you creativity, vision, and purpose so you could barely make it. But if you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, not smart enough, or not qualified enough, you'll live beneath what God already made available. Renewed thinking means you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a steward. You stop waiting for rescue and start taking responsibility. You stop hoping for change and start becoming the person who creates it. You understand that growth is intentional. You don't drift into success. You decide your way there. And this is why personal development is spiritual. Reading, studying, learning, and stretching yourself is not worldly. It's wise. God expects you to multiply what he placed inside you. He expects you to sharpen your gifts. He expects you to expand your capacity. When you grow, your income has room to grow. Your environment will try to keep you the same. Your past will try to define you. Your comfort zone will try to trap you. But every new level requires a new mindset. You cannot carry old beliefs into a new future. You have to let go of limiting thoughts and replace them with empowering truth. So start talking differently, start thinking differently, start seeing differently. Surround yourself with people who stretch you. Feed your mind with wisdom, challenge your assumptions, because the moment your thinking changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your habits change. And when your habits change, your financial life has no choice but to follow. Change your mind and you change your money. Let me close this out by telling you something that might surprise you. God is not in the business of dropping piles of cash from heaven. He is in the business of giving people the power, the wisdom, and the discipline to create wealth. That's why prosperity is managed, not miracled. Breakthrough might start with a moment, but abundance is sustained by systems. Most people are waiting on a financial miracle while ignoring financial management. They want supernatural increase, but they won't track their spending. They want overflow, but they don't have a budget. They want God to multiply their money, but they don't even know where it goes. That's not faith. That's disorder. And God is not the author of confusion. Here's the truth. Money flows to structure. If you don't give your finances direction, they will disappear. If you don't tell your resources what assignment they have, they'll wander. Every dollar needs a job. Every hour needs a purpose. Every decision needs intention. Wealth doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from how well you manage what you already have. Some people think budgeting is restrictive. It's not. Budgeting is permission. It gives you permission to spend without guilt and save without fear. It tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And saving is not lack of faith, it's wisdom. Even Joseph stored grain during the years of plenty so there would be provision during the years of famine. God's strategy was management. And let's talk about investing. Investing is simply planting with strategy. It's putting your money to work instead of working for money forever. Wealthy people don't just earn, they allocate, they don't just receive, they position. They understand that idle money loses value, but invested money multiplies. You don't have to start big. You just have to start. Small, consistent steps build massive results over time. Planning matters. Most people live reactively. They wait for emergencies, then panic. They wait for bills, then scramble. They wait for opportunities, then hesitate. But disciplined people plan ahead. They prepare for tomorrow while living today. They understand that financial peace doesn't come from surprise blessings. It comes from intentional systems. Let me make it real simple. If you don't manage money, money will manage you. You'll always be stressed, always behind, always hoping something changes. But when you put structure in place, peace shows up. You start sleeping better, you stop arguing about finances, you stop making emotional decisions, you move from chaos to clarity, and here's what most people miss. Discipline is not deprivation. Discipline is design. It's choosing what you want most over what you want now. It's saying no to impulse so you can say yes to destiny. It's understanding that freedom is built, not wished for. God gives you the power to get wealth, but He expects you to steward it. He gives you ideas, opportunities, and abilities, but He also expects responsibility. Miracles might open doors, but management keeps them open. Favor might introduce you to opportunity, but systems determine whether you keep it. Some of you are praying for increase, but God is waiting for organization. Some of you are asking for abundance, but heaven is looking for consistency. Some of you are believing for overflow, but your life has no structure to support it. You don't need another prophetic word. You need a plan. Start where you are. Write things down. Track your spending. Create a simple budget. Build an emergency fund. Learn about investing. Set goals. Review them regularly. These are not worldly ideas, and these are wisdom principles. This is stewardship. This is how you honor what God places in your hands. And remember, wealth is not about showing off. It's about showing up. It's about having the resources to help others, to fund vision, to support purpose, to create legacy. God doesn't bless you just for you. He blesses you so you can become a blessing. So stop waiting for money to change your life and start managing your life so money can flow through it. Because when discipline meets divine favor, prosperity becomes inevitable.